I'm joined again by Abdul for his Game Week 3 watch list. We're going to have a look at how he got on last week, what he's thinking for next week. But first, we're going to look at 8 players who are on his radar. Pascal Groß is the first one up. Everyone's talking about him in content this week. Why is everyone talking about him?
Well, as you know, John, he scored 2 goals. He scored a brace in his first game. That's not why I'm particularly, picking him for that. The main reason is that now Neil Maupay has left and gone to Nottingham Forest. His kind of place in the team should be a lot more secure. And on top of that, he should also now be on penalties as well with him gone. And also the fact he played 90 minutes in the first 2 games, which is obviously really kind of, reassuring, if you want to bring him in. And he's been putting up good numbers as well. He's got, 3 shots in the box with an XG of 1.29, and he's also created 5 chances. So he's putting up good numbers, and, Brighton have got great fixtures coming up. On top of that, if you look at his kind of average position map in the first 2 games, John, he's been playing just in behind Welbeck, so he's been playing quite far forward. And again, he's only 5.6 million, and he seems to be like, he could be like a good replacement for the likes of the, Rashfords and Baileys and Netos, who people are looking to, replace quite imminently.
The thing with Pascal Groß is, though, like he's already up to 5.6, so it's tough for a lot of people who have that 5.5 player to switch out. Or it's hard because you can't just go and find 0.5 with one extra transfer. You're probably going to have to make 3. Depending. But he's someone I really want to get in, and I'm debating even going down from Grealish, but then I'm just afraid I'm going to get bitten because he isn't necessarily a sexy name now, but he was a few years ago, and sometimes you just have to trust the numbers. His ex-teammate Cucurella is the second guy on your list, and it's a player I've mentioned a lot this week in different content.
Yeah, well, he's kind of threw his hat into the ring, Cucurella, with that, with the start last game week. So he was playing as a left wing back, right? So now, obviously, we know he can play a left centre back as well, which is obviously, great for his starting prospects. And we know that, Tuchel has kind of, stated a few times that, Ben Chilwell isn't up to scratch yet fitness-wise, and, understandably, he's been out for like basically a whole season. So I think his kind of starting prospects for the kind of foreseeable future, like, I'd say at least for the next maybe 4 or 5, 6 games is pretty secure. And, even when Chilwell comes back, I think he might just even, kind of slot into, maybe left centre back instead of left wing back. But at the moment, he seems to have that, that left wing back spot. And, he got an assist against Spurs. And on top of that, he was taking corners as well. So, that's kind of really, he's really kind of, really kind of gone like on the top of my kind of watch list now, after that performance. He's only 5 million, John, 5 million for a Chelsea defender, it kind of seems, a bit too good to turn down. Again, with the kind of early wild card that we've kind of been talking about a lot as well, it's not as big a risk, as it would be in previous seasons.
Well, that's it. He is the cheapest sort of nailed Chelsea defender by some distance because you've really got James, Koulibaly. Chilwell was thought to be relatively nailed. But outside that, we've Azpilicueta at 5 million. Thiago Silva's 5.5. And you've Cucurella at 5. There's no one else at 5 who's nailed, so it is really the cheapest way into that Chelsea defence. And if he's shown that attacking output, that fullback sort of attacking output, it's a no-brainer. And he is a player I'd love to get in. It's just very hard when you've got 4 or 5 big hitters already to try and justify it.
That's the only problem, yeah. And even if he starts, like, say, 4 out of 5 games, there's still no one better value at 5 million in defence than him either. So he's really, really tempting.
Next up, you've got Phil Foden here. Obviously, that Man City Pep Roulette rotation nightmare has been a thing and will continue to be a thing, but you've Foden on your list.
Yeah, so Foden's an interesting one, right? Because he got a goal and assist, but Pep actually took him off at half time. And from Pep's comments, it was quite evident that the reason he took him off was, he didn't explicitly state this, but he did hint, like, heavily towards it, that it was that, that pass where he didn't pass to Haaland, and when he was like, kind of 5 yards out for a tap in, and then he mentioned that, and it seemed like, that was kind of his punishment, for not finding Haaland there. Pep, we know what Pep's like. He's a bit kind of out there with these sort of decisions. He's quite harsh in that sense. So saying that, like, when kind of Phil Foden isn't being naughty, he seems to be ahead of, like, ahead of Mahrez and Grealish, and that 8 million, that he just seems like so good value. And I really kind of see him kind of making his way into my team soon. I don't think I would do it the next game week because I don't know whether Pep sees that him taking him off at half time as punishment enough, or whether he's going to bench him the next game, to kind of teach him a real lesson or whatever. But he's definitely on my watch list. maybe a bit risky to bring him in this week, but definitely if he starts the next game, I think, he should definitely be on our radars.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see again, just back to the pep roulette. Sick of saying it, sick of hearing it, but you just never know. And with the added sort of disciplinary going on, as you said, maybe it is a risk now, but absolutely one for the watch list because of great first half performance. Maddison's next up. Speaking of that kind of battle of the English midfielders at 8 million, Maddison's here. He was sort of talked about a lot in pre-season, but he's coming up again.
Yeah, and he was one of the kind of least popular 8 million assets as well. Sorry, the least popular 8 million midfielders, I should say. But he's been ticking along. He's gotten a goal and assist in his first 2 games. A goal against Arsenal, which wasn't the easiest of fixtures, and now Leicester's fixtures kind of pick up. And he's been the best Leicester asset last season. And in the first 2 games, he's shown again that he is the main man. He's got 5 shots in the box, created 6 chances. He played 90 minutes in both games, which is quite significant because he didn't really play a lot of 90 minutes last season. So he seems to be kind of that kind of season he's had last term kind of seems to kind of really have put him in the forefront and like one of the first names on Brendan Rodgers' kind of team sheet. So yeah, I mean all the way up until game week 13, Leicester have got great fixtures. They got 2 tough games against Chelsea and Spurs. But the thing with Leicester is, John, that they're such a good attacking side that you take your chances of them scoring in those kind of tough games as well. So yeah, Maddison is kind of a bit under the radar, I think, with a lot of managers, but definitely a viable pick.
I suppose it's that, where do you fit him in whenever everyone's got their Mo Salahs and Martinellis and their Andreases to fill out, and then they're looking at the Baileys, and it depends on that other slot midfield, what people have got there. But
it totally depends on your team structure, John. I mean, if you've got that slot there, he is a good option.
And as you say, like, just to reiterate, the fixtures, they look great other than the ones you pointed out. And the thing with Leicester is, as you say, they can score any day. Even when they get trounced 4-2 by Arsenal, there's still 2 there, and those 2 are points. And for the likes of James Maddison, even though they've got Watt there with conceding 4 goals, he's still scoring a 7-pointer. So maybe all we need to care about Leicester this season's their attacking output, and maybe less said about the defence, the better. On to the next one, Ivan Toney. He has been phenomenal in the first 2 games. Yeah,
and he's gotten a goal and 2 assists in his first 2 games. He was fantastic against Manchester United. John didn't get the goal, but his 2 assists were amazing. Like that, the header back across the goal, and that sublime pass for Mbeumo's goal. He's gonna, like, this is not something that we already knew this about Toney. He is the talisman for Brentford. He's on penalties. He's a 90-minute man. He's gonna get the fair share of their goals. And the thing I really like about Toney now is that Brentford's fixtures all the way up until game week 12 are fantastic. They don't play any team from last season's top 4 up until game week 12. The toughest game I think they've got in that run is just Arsenal, and the rest of the fixtures are fantastic. Again, if I had like a Nunez or something, he'd be right at the top of my watch list. Probably the one I'd get in actually for Nunez. Only 7 million. He looks a great option, and I'm a wee bit disappointed I've not got room for him in my team. I would like him, but I've got Jesus and Haaland there, so yeah, not it doesn't really fit my team structure, but yeah, fantastic option.
I think it's so, again, just to go back to the team structure thing, it's so hard to fit players like him in whenever everyone wants Haaland, everyone wants Jesus. So to find that extra forward, because you're not going to get rid of Jesus at the minute for him, so you're going to be taking out the likes of a Trent or a Cancelo or a Robertson or a James, and then even then you might be cutting it fine cash wise. So I just think it's so hard. I'd love him, but I just don't see how I can get that 4.5 million forward slot up to him. But he's definitely one for the watch list, and if people have built or are looking for a forward around that price range, he's a no-brainer. Speaking of forwards, in and around that price range, a bit cheaper, Awoniyi. Taiwo Awoniyi at Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham are, again, promoted team and everyone's targeting them. They caught a 1-0 win at West Ham. West Ham struggling, Awoniyi with a goal, Jesse Lingard with an assist.
Yeah, I mean, Awoniyi was one of the guys on my watch list pre-season. I really liked his stats. I talked a lot about him in one of my team reveal videos, near the start of early pre-season. And he got 15 goals and 2 assists, for Union Berlin last season. And I was looking at his kind of underlying numbers, and they were fantastic. But he didn't start game week 1, so that kind of really surprised me a bit. But I guess it's just the manager trying to kind of bed him in. Started his first game and scored. And, he's only 6 million, John. And, as I was saying, his underlying numbers are fantastic. So, he's 6 million. So he's an enabler as well. And I mean, he's one of those players where, like, again, he's a good option, but at the same time, managers who are kind of, a lot of managers will have 2 free transfers, this week. And, if you want to get rid of like Nunez or whoever, or one of your other forwards, he can act as an enabler to kind of upgrade, another kind of spot on your team as well. Possibly to get a Diaz or an 8 million midfielder. 6 million, I think, for him is really good value. Again, we're talking about team structure. It really depends on that. If you've got 3 forwards, then yeah, he is the best kind of cheap third forward option that we have at the moment. I think he'll even do better than his teammate Brennan Johnson. He kind of plays more out in the wing, whereas Awoniyi is like the clear kind of centre forward in that team. So yeah, I like him at that price.
Brilliant. We're going to go to a more own player now. So Ivan Perisic, 35 minutes managed so far this campaign out of a possible 180 doesn't sound that good, but he has already got an assist. And, Spurs fullbacks have done more than get an assist. If there's a goal in there, there's a couple of assists between them. So it really does lean into the philosophy around Conte being so attacking with his wingbacks. I mean, it's there to see that the proof's in the pudding. And Perisic is rumoured to maybe get a bit more game time now going forward. So a lot of people got rid of him. A lot of people had him. A lot of people got rid of him. Maybe it's time for people to get him back. Yeah,
so again, I think Perisic is one that you really need to kind of wait for, Antonio Conte's pressers. But as you said, he came on, he got the assist. He could have earned a start for that Wolves game now. He's had 2 games. I know he's not had a lot of minutes, but I think he might be at that kind of stage now where he's good to start against Wolves. If he does start against Wolves, I think he's one of the best defensive options, for this game week. And if he's going to get on games now, then he's one of the best defenders in the game, I think, at that price. I mean, he got 8 goals and 7 assists last season for Inter Milan, and he was average something like 0.23 goals per 90, which is more than the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James even. So when he starts, he's going to be a great option. That's why I've got him on my watch list, although he's still a bit of a risky pick. In the first 2 game weeks, Conte has been quite kind of forthcoming with his comments regarding Perisic. He's been saying things that he's not ready yet. So, we've kind of deciphered from that he's not going to start. So I think I think we will know from what Conte says in his presser whether Perisic is going to start or not. And, whether he can be bought in, or, if you've already got him, whether to keep him or not.
We'll have to keep an eye on it. And definitely, I didn't start with him. I think it was last minute Fantasy Football Fest. I got it through the grapevine. I think it was from Fergie. Don't pick Perisic, but or it was Perisic or Doherty. Don't pick either of them. But we're moving on. We're going over to Leeds. Rodrigo at Leeds has got 22 points already. He's got 22 points with 3 goals. That's what's got the points for him, and 3 bonus points. Still relatively differential. 6.1 million looks great value in the middle of the park. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's been putting up great numbers, John. He's got 7 shots in the box with an XG of 1.37, and he's also created like 3 chances. And again, he's one of those forwards, John, who gets like goals and assists. And the main reason why I really kind of fancied him, I was looking at him, was because when Bamford got injured, he moved into the centre forward spot, so he was playing as a centre forward. So as we know, he's classified as a midfielder, so he's playing in a out of position. So again, if he's a midfielder playing up front for Leeds, he should be kind of nailed right now. Jesse March has even kind of commented a few times about how much he likes him and how he really wants to get him in that kind of team. I think once all of these players are, with Siniestra and that, once they're all kind of fit, he might become a bit of a rotation risk. But at the moment, I think he's, a fantastic option. I think he should be nailed to start for, the next 4 or 5 games. I would say with Chelsea next, it's probably wise to maybe wait another week. But yeah, I definitely think he's a great option. I've got a bit of a soft spot for like OOPs, out of position players, and I just love it when a midfielder is playing up front or whatnot. And I think he's putting up the numbers, and he's got the fixtures on his side as well after the Chelsea game.
Well, there's 8 players for people's watch list. We've got a couple of defenders in Cucurella and Perisic, the forwards with Awoniyi and Toney, and then the midfielders Rodrigo, Maddison, Foden, and Groß. So all sort of different price points covered there. We're going to have a look now, Abdul, at your team and how you got on last week. Obviously, an outstanding score. So talk us through it.
Yeah. So John, I've got 2 free transfers this week, and honestly, like at the moment, I'm not really sure what to do with them because I really like my team. You can see there, the back line. I've got double City defence. I've got Reece James. I've got Trent. and I've got Gabriel who's got Bournemouth away. My front five, there's no change in them. So, I mean, really at the moment, from a watch list, Cucurella was one that was kind of sticking out for me. I think, possibly Gabriel to Cucurella, they're both the same price, but do I really want to get rid of Gabriel, when he's got Bournemouth and then, Fulham in the next game? I'm really stuck on where to actually use my 2 free transfers. I might just even do something like possibly an Archer to a Greenwood. I don't know, maybe possibly Sanchez to Everson. But at the moment, as you can see, that John, my starting 11 is, I don't know. I mean, who would you change there? I don't know. I'm a bit stumped at the moment, to be honest.
You're flexing that 38k rank now at me. There's no one. I mean, you've your front five's just beautiful. Yeah. Your front five's beautiful.
Yeah. So you know what, John? Honestly, I could very feasibly even bun a transfer this week.
Jeez.
If there's,
have you ever done that on purpose?
I have. Yeah, I think not. Maybe in the 16 seasons I've been playing, maybe twice. So yeah, not very often at all. But I mean, what can you do? There's no point in changing a player, just for the sake of it. I guess if I'm happy with my team, I mean, I'm sure something will pop up by kind of Friday night after Predators and that. But at the moment, yeah, it's I'm really struggling to use them.
So I've popped your team into the My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub, and you have a 95% team rating, so you're set up pretty nice going forward. This game week, you're predicted to get 63 points. I don't know if you'd settle for that after the last couple of weeks, and an 89% game week rating. So yeah, you're set really, really nicely. I suppose of all your players there, as you said, Gabriel is your weak link with 3.9 predicted points against Bournemouth. Talk to me about this. Who are you going to captain this week? Because obviously a lot of people are looking at Haaland, Jesus and Salah.
Yeah, I think for me it's firmly on Salah at the moment. My vice captain will probably be, Jesus. I think Jesus is probably the second best pick. For me, Salah. I mean, I know Jesus got the 19-point haul, but I think that, huge haul was a bit of an anomaly. For me, I think Salah is probably I think he's the clear favourite for me this week. I think he's got the better, he's not got the better fixture, but he is the better FPL asset, and he's against Man United, who have, had a terrible start. They don't look like anywhere near the kind of level they should be. So yeah, Salah for me.
Salah for you. You see, I'm thinking Gabriel Jesus, 2 goals, 2 assists, and he's got Bournemouth now. I just think it's a no-brainer. But maybe I don't know. Maybe either I'm underthinking or overthinking, one of the two.
If Jesus had got a 2-pointer and Salah had got a 19-pointer, who would be your captain this week?
You see, this is why I'm not the expert in you are, Abdul, because I probably still would captain Jesus against Bournemouth, but then Man United, in my head, it's that historical bias that where I'm kind of looking back and going, United are United, but really they got beat 4-0 by Brentford, so maybe you do just target them,
Yeah, and I mean, last season, they got beat 5-0 and Salah scored a hat-trick, so I mean, they're not...
All right. You've convinced me. If you and Bakar say Salah, I can't go Jesus, can I? Jeez.
Is Bakar on Salah as well?
Yeah, he was a Salah merchant. So imagine I go against
I just think, John, I just think a lot of people, I don't think Jesus is a bad caption option at all, but I just think a lot of people are looking at last week's points and then, making the decision on that, whereas I think that they should be looking at the player and the underlying numbers.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And just to pop in, let's say that potential transfer you're thinking of, maybe, if I was to remove Gabriel and bring in Cucurella, you go up to 64.1 predicted points with a 91% game week rating. If anyone wants to see their game week rating, click the link in the description. You can head over, click the My Team tool, and you can import your FPL ID. If you click the Actions button at the bottom, import your FPL team, put in your ID, and your team will populate, and you can have a tinker. But yeah, Abdul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming back.
You.
We'll see you again soon, and best of luck for this game week.
You too, mate. Thank you.